Welcome, Chosen One. Before we begin, I want to take a moment to express my heartfelt gratitude to every one of you who has supported this mission through your generous super thanks. Your faith and kindness make it possible for this message to reach those who need it the most. May God bless you abundantly for your support and unwavering belief in this calling. Now, let's talk about something truly remarkable. They looked at you and made a grave mistake. They saw you as naive, just a bystander. They assumed you were an easy target, someone they could deceive, manipulate, or discard without consequence. But oh, how wrong they were. They misunderstood your silence as weakness, your patience as ignorance, and your kindness as foolishness. But the truth? You were never a pawn in their game. You were the architect of your own destiny, patiently waiting for the right moment to step into your power. It's almost comical, isn't it? How often people underestimate those who walk with divine wisdom. The Bible is filled with such stories, those whom others dismissed too soon, only for God to raise them up in ways that left their critics stunned. Take Joseph, for example, sold into slavery by his own brothers, cast aside as though his dreams held no weight. And yet, in time, God lifted him up to a position of authority so great that those same brothers were brought to their knees before him. What they intended for harm, God transformed into triumph. And now, Chosen One, your moment of revelation has arrived. Those who misjudged you, who plotted against you, who believed you would fold under pressure, they're now the ones left bewildered, trying to comprehend how you turned the tables so effortlessly. Can you feel the shift? Can you sense the power that has always lived within you, now fully awakened? If this speaks to your spirit, type 999 in the comments below and declare it with boldness. You are not just chosen, you are empowered. This is only the beginning, and the story of your rise is just getting started. Let's be clear about something. They thought you were naive, but you showed them who's really in control. Number one, your silence made them confident, but your comeback dismantled everything they built. They mistook your stillness for blindness. They thought you were too passive to notice the betrayal unfolding around you. Their arrogance blinded them to the truth. You saw everything. While they whispered behind closed doors, you observed. While they wore their masks, you watched patiently. You stayed silent not because you didn't know, but because you were preparing. Silence is not weakness. It's a strategic weapon. Think back to Jesus before his accusers in Matthew 26-62-63. When provoked and questioned, he remained silent. That silence wasn't surrender, it was a demonstration of divine strength. In the same way, your quietness wasn't ignorance. It was wisdom in action. You were gathering information, assembling the puzzle, watching every move. They thought you were inattentive, but in truth, you were one step ahead. That's what people often fail to understand. Like Joseph's brothers in Genesis 37, they confuse endurance with defeat. They sold Joseph into slavery, assuming silence meant surrender. But his silence hid strength, and his patience led to greatness. Just like Joseph, your rise is divinely orchestrated. What they dismissed will now become the very thing God uses to reveal his glory in your life. They counted you out, but God is counting you in. When his brothers stood before him, they realized far too late that the one they had betrayed had risen far above them. Your story mirrors his in so many ways. When the time to act finally came, it wasn't through loud words or dramatic displays. One precise move was enough to dismantle everything they had built against you. Their smug confidence vanished, replaced by disbelief and confusion. They thought they were in control, but their arrogance blinded them to the quiet power you carried all along. This kind of irony often unfolds when pride meets wisdom. The very silence they once mocked became the force that left them speechless. David's encounter with Saul in 1 Samuel 24 is a clear picture of this truth. Saul, fueled by jealousy, relentlessly chased David, Yet, David didn't retaliate, he waited. And when he had the chance to strike, he chose mercy, sparing Saul's life and proving that true strength doesn't require vengeance or noise. His restraint spoke volumes. Like David, your patience dismantled their illusion of power, not with force, but with grace and insight. Now, they are left scrambling, trying to piece together how everything fell apart. They stand stunned, unable to grasp how the one they dismissed as naive turned out to be the one who outsmarted them completely. That's the result of underestimating someone who understands the power of silence and timing. Now the question becomes, what comes next? With their schemes exposed and their pride shaken, how will you continue to rise beyond what they ever expected? Each step you take now confirms what was always true. You were never weak, never blind, never unaware. You were in control all along, and they never saw it. Number 2. You didn't just survive their traps, you transformed them into stepping stones. Chosen one, they tried everything in their power to stop you. They laid snares, threw roadblocks in your way, and crafted trials they believed would crush your spirit. Every obstacle they engineered was meant to halt your progress, make you question your worth, and wear you down into submission. But they never understood who you really were. You didn't just endure the struggle, you used it. You turned every single trap into a stepping stone that lifted you higher. Why do people believe obstacles can break the determined? Look at Joseph again. His brothers believed that selling him into slavery would erase his dreams. But instead, it placed him on the path that would elevate him to a position of power in Egypt. Genesis 50-20. Just like Joseph, the hardships you faced didn't break you, they built you. Every challenge only strengthened your faith, honed your abilities, and prepared you for levels of success they never imagined. When they tried to slam doors in your face, what did you do? You didn't plead or wait for permission, you created new doors. While they laughed, thinking the detours would wear you down, you quietly grew stronger. Every insult, every dismissive glance, they believed they were chipping away at your confidence, but instead, they fueled your fire. Have you noticed how adversity has revealed strengths within you that you never knew existed? Think of Nehemiah, rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem, Nehemiah 2-6. Despite constant mockery and sabotage, he persevered. The more they opposed him, the more determined he became. Like Nehemiah, you turned every trial into triumph. Their schemes became the very blueprint that refined your character. And when they finally realized how far you had come, it was already too late to stop you. Isn't it ironic how their efforts to control you ended up backfiring? They withheld their support, believing it would crush your confidence. Instead, it ignited something powerful within you. You learned to celebrate your own victories when no one else would. You found joy in the silence, strength in solitude, and clarity in trusting your own instincts when the world turned its back. Their rejection didn't break you, it made you independent, bold, and unshakable. Then the tables turned. The very success they tried so hard to block became impossible to ignore. You didn't just rise to meet their expectations, you surpassed them entirely. While they tried to play gatekeeper, holding the keys to doors they assumed you needed, you built something so strong, so impactful, that their permission became irrelevant. Like David facing Goliath with nothing but a sling and a stone, 1 Samuel 17, you used the very tools they dismissed to claim your victory. Now, their opinions and recognition mean nothing. Why would they? You've already proven your worth. You've shown that greatness isn't dependent on applause. It's forged in resilience, vision, and unwavering inner strength. And now, as they scramble to offer you acknowledgement, isn't it freeing to realize you no longer need it? You validated yourself. Their efforts to tear you down only strengthened the foundation you were already building. Now, they're left watching as you rise higher than they ever imagined. This is the beauty of your journey. You've proven both to them and to yourself that greatness isn't granted, it's earned. It's built through every step forward, every obstacle overcome, and every victory claimed in silence. Number 3. They played checkers, but you were mastering chess. Chosen one, they completely underestimated you. From the beginning, they believed they could outsmart you with simple, short-sighted tactics-basic moves designed for easy wins. Their strategies were shallow, designed to trap you quickly. They assumed you were thinking on their level, incapable of seeing beyond the surface of the board. But what they didn't realize was that you weren't even playing the same game. While they made impulsive moves for small victories, you were playing chess, a game of vision, patience, and strategic depth. Why do so many settle for quick, fleeting wins instead of focusing on the bigger, long-term picture? Their narrow vision reminded me of the serpent in the Garden of Eden, Genesis 3. The serpent aimed for immediate temptation, hoping for a quick fall. But God's plan, infinite in scope, was already unfolding. In the same way, your opponents were caught up in the moment, so blinded by their temporary advances that they failed to see the master plan in motion. You weren't just reacting, you were anticipating. You watched their moves, calculated the ripple effects, and stayed 3 steps ahead. They celebrated short-lived victories, believing they had the upper hand, but you allowed it because it served your greater purpose. Their arrogance became your advantage. Isn't it interesting how overconfidence can blind people? While they clung to their tiny triumphs, you were laying the foundation for permanent success. They never realized that it wasn't about winning a move, it was about mastering the board. Think of Joseph. His brothers sold him into slavery, assuming they had won, but their short-sighted betrayal only accelerated God's plan. Every hardship Joseph endured prepared him for rulership in Egypt, Genesis 41-41. And just like Joseph, every challenge you faced wasn't the end. It was positioning you for the very leadership they tried to deny you. Your opponents believed their moves were clever, but in reality, they were playing directly into your hands. While they celebrated each trap they set for you, convinced they were gaining ground, you were already several moves ahead. Every decision they made, every action they took, only served to advance your strategy. You allowed them to fall into their patterns, to become comfortable in their illusion of control, while you carefully observed and calculated. Their short-term victories blinded them. They couldn't see that they were being outmaneuvered at every turn. Can you see it now? Their hunger for instant gratification combined with arrogance and an inability to think long-term was their downfall. They were so focused on winning the moment that they failed to realize you were building something that would last far beyond their schemes. And when your final move came, it wasn't dramatic or chaotic. It didn't need to be. True mastery speaks quietly. Like David's victory over Goliath in 1 Samuel 17, your success wasn't about brute force, it was about precision, faith, and timing. Your final move wasn't just a win, it was a declaration. You didn't simply outplay them, you rewrote the rules of the game. Now they are left stunned, scrambling to understand how they missed all the signs. How could someone they dismissed, overlooked, and underestimated be so far ahead? They were too consumed by their petty victories, too eager for shallow success, to see the bigger picture you were orchestrating all along. Here lies the greatest irony. Every move they made ultimately worked in your favor. They believed they were working against you, but unknowingly, they helped lay the foundation of something unstoppable. They played checkers while you mastered chess, and by the time they recognized the difference, it was already too late. Now, chosen one, pause and reflect on this moment. You've shown that foresight, patience, and wisdom will always surpass arrogance and short-sightedness. The question is no longer if you'll win, you already have. The real question is, how will you use this mastery moving forward? This is no longer about their tactics. It's about your vision, your leadership, and the empire you are quietly building. The game belongs to you now. Number 4, their betrayal was the best gift they ever gave you. Betrayal cuts deep. It feels like a dagger to the soul. The lies, the disloyalty, the whispered schemes behind your back. Knowing someone you trusted could turn against you can shake the very foundation of your faith in people. At first, it feels like everything you believed in was torn away, but in truth, their betrayal wasn't your end, it was your beginning. It was a hidden gift wrapped in pain, pushing you toward clarity and ultimate freedom. Why does betrayal hurt so much? Because it forces you to confront the gap between who you believed someone was and who they really are. Consider Peter denying Jesus in Luke 22:54-62. Peter's betrayal wasn't born of hate, it came from fear, and yet it served a higher purpose. That moment of failure led to deep reflection, transformation, and Peter's rise as the rock upon which the church was built. In the same way, the betrayal you experienced revealed what you needed to see, not just about them, but about yourself. Yes, their actions hurt. The lies, the whispers, the schemes that felt personal, like your world was falling apart. But once the dust settled, you realized their betrayal wasn't a loss. It was a revelation. It unmasked relationships that were never meant to follow you into your next season. Have you noticed how certain connections fall away just as you're nearing a breakthrough? It's not by accident, it's because not everyone is meant to go where you're going. This wasn't your failure, it was their truth finally coming to light. Why does betrayal have such a powerful way of shifting our perspective? Because it forces us to look beneath the surface. Their disloyalty opened your eyes. It made you realize that some people were only meant to be in your life for a season, and that's okay. Just like when Paul and Barnabas parted ways after a disagreement in Acts 15:36-41. It wasn't about failure, it was about growth. Sometimes separation is necessary for the mission ahead. They believed their betrayal would leave you desperate, broken, and isolated. But what it actually gave you was far greater. You discovered that you didn't need their half-hearted loyalty, conditional support, or hidden agendas. Their actions gave you the clarity to release the dead weight, freeing you to move forward with new strength and purpose. When was the last time you paused to evaluate who truly belongs in your life? Their betrayal sharpened your discernment. You began to recognize the difference between genuine supporters and those who only lingered for their own benefit. Just as God instructed Gideon to reduce his army from 32,000 to 300 in Judges 7:1-7, you learned that fewer, aligned allies are more powerful than a crowd with divided loyalty. By letting go of the wrong people, you made room for the right ones to enter. And the irony? What they meant to harm you became the very thing that empowered you. Their betrayal marked a turning point. It unchained you from false attachments and awakened a deeper strength within. While they were busy celebrating what they assumed was their victory, you were rising lighter, wiser, and unstoppable. Do you see now how their betrayal worked in your favor? What they intended for evil became a gift of revelation. You learned the most important truth: not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone is qualified to walk beside you on your journey. Consider the betrayal of Samson by Delilah in Judges 16:18-21. Her deceit led to his capture and humiliation, but even in his lowest moment, Samson found power in his final act. He brought the temple down upon his enemies, turning defeat into one last mighty victory. Isn't it remarkable how betrayal can be the very thing that pushes us into transformation? What you endured was not the end. It was the beginning of your rise. You owe them nothing, not your trust, your energy, or even your attention. They believed they were tearing you down, but in reality, they handed you the tools to rebuild yourself into someone stronger and freer. The beauty of their betrayal is that it gave you the courage to walk away from what no longer served your purpose. And now, as you stand with strength and peace, you can see clearly. Their absence has brought more clarity and joy than their presence ever did. They thought they were breaking you, but in truth, they were helping shape the unshakable version of you that now stands tall. And now, chosen one, you are truly unstoppable. Number 5. You didn't confront them, you outclassed them. They craved conflict. They expected you to react, to meet anger with anger, to argue, to break your character in the face of chaos. But you didn't give them the satisfaction. They plotted drama, but you chose dignity. They stirred conflict, and you responded with calm. You made a powerful decision. You wouldn't play their petty games. Instead, you rose above them entirely. Have you ever wondered why people thrive on drama? It feeds their ego. Conflict gives them a false sense of control and importance. But you didn't need to shout. Your silence was louder than any argument. You didn't stoop to their level because you were always several steps above it. Think about Nehemiah rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem, Nehemiah 6:1-9. His enemies tried repeatedly to distract him, sending messages to lure him into pointless meeting schemes designed to derail his mission. But Nehemiah's response was firm. I am doing a great work, and I cannot come down. Like Nehemiah, you saw the bigger picture. You understood that engaging with them would solve nothing. Responding would only validate their manipulation and give them a platform they didn't earn. So you stayed silent. You held your head high and devoted your energy to your purpose. While they spread rumors, played petty games, and plotted in the background, you were quietly building something far greater than they could comprehend. Isn't it powerful how clarity and focus can silence the noise around you? Every step you took forward became a bold, unspoken declaration. I'm focused on my mission, and you are irrelevant. Their confusion only made your victory sweeter. They couldn't understand why you didn't fight back, why you didn't argue, why you never stooped to their level. They expected drama. You gave them silence. They thrive on conflict, but you gave them no fire to feed. And by the time they realized what you were doing, it was already too late. While they obsessed over tearing you down, you were too busy rising. Doesn't this remind you of Jesus during his trial? Faced with false accusations and mockery, he remained silent, Matthew 27:12-14. He didn't argue, he didn't plead. Why? Because his purpose was already written in heaven. His silence was strength. In the same way, you didn't need to explain yourself. You didn't need to fight or prove anything. Your results, the fruit of your focus, spoke louder than any defense ever could. Every milestone you reached, every goal you accomplished, every quiet success was a thunderous statement. You were never on my level. While they tried to entangle you in chaos, you ascended far beyond their reach. Your discipline, your composure, and your refusal to engage left them disarmed and defeated. Isn't it amazing how not fighting can sometimes be the strongest move of all? By choosing peace over pettiness, you didn't just win, you erased their relevance. You outclassed them so profoundly that their tactics fell apart on their own. Think of David's response to his older brother Eliab before facing Goliath, 1 Samuel 17:28-30. Eliab mocked David, questioned his motives, and tried to provoke him. But David didn't waste time arguing. He simply shifted his focus back to his purpose and the giant he was born to face. Like David, you refused to be distracted by people trying to pull you into meaningless conflict. You stayed focused, and that focus became your greatest strength. Now, chosen one, they're left with nothing but the echoes of their own bitterness. They can't discredit what you've built. They can't erase what you've accomplished. Their games, which once seemed clever, now look small and meaningless in the shadow of your success. Have you noticed how their small, temporary wins have faded into silence while your lasting impact continues to grow? They thought they could pull you down, but you soared so high that their opinions no longer matter. You didn't confront them because you didn't need to. you outclassed them in every way. So, as you move forward, remember this: true strength isn't always loud. It's focused, it's resilient, it's wise. Your elevation isn't just a victory, it's a legacy. Number 6, they relied on your kindness, thinking it was weakness. Chosen one, they misunderstood you. They saw your compassion, your forgiveness, and your patient heart and assumed you were soft. They thought they could exploit your goodness. But they had no idea just how powerful kindness becomes when it's backed by strength. In their minds, kindness was naivety and restraint was ignorance. But what they failed to realize is this: your kindness was never a sign of unawareness, it was a choice. A deliberate, conscious decision rooted in strength, not fragility. Why do people so often mistake kindness for weakness? It's because they fail to comprehend the depth of true strength. Consider Moses, one of the meekest men to walk the earth, Numbers 12-3. His meekness wasn't weakness. It was a reflection of deep self-control and unwavering reliance on God's power. Like Moses, your ability to remain kind in the face of mistreatment was not a flaw, it was a sign of mastery over your emotions and responses. At first, you let them believe they were winning. You saw the manipulation, you recognized the subtle digs, and yet you didn't react. Why? Because you understood that restraint holds more power than retaliation. You knew that giving their schemes your attention would only validate their behavior. Their tactics, their drama, pettiness, and attempts to undermine you never deserved the energy of your reaction. Have you ever truly considered the strength it takes to stay calm when betrayal cuts deep? Your kindness was not surrender, it was control. Your silence wasn't fear, it was wisdom. You recognized that their actions revealed more about them than they ever could about you. Like Jesus on the cross, who said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Luke 23:34. You chose to rise above it all. Your restraint came from a higher understanding. You knew that betrayal didn't define your worth, it only exposed their character. But when they crossed the line, when they mistook your kindness for defeat, you reminded them, without a word, who they were really dealing with. You didn't lash out or sink to their level. Instead, you did something far more powerful. You withdrew your energy, shifted your focus, and shut the door. And just like that, they could no longer reach you. Isn't it remarkable how silence can speak volumes? They never expected it. The same person they believed they could manipulate became the one who slipped from their grip entirely. You didn't explode, you didn't argue, you didn't announce your decision. You simply chose yourself, and that choice changed everything. Think of Joseph and his brothers. His forgiveness after everything they did wasn't because he forgot. It was because he had risen above it. Genesis 50-19:21. His kindness wasn't weakness, it was evidence of how far he had come. In the same way, your kindness was never vulnerability. It was proof of your power. By the time they realized it, it was too late. The person they thought they could use was no longer available. In your place stood someone who couldn't be controlled. You gave kindness, but only on your terms, and when the time came, you reclaimed it. That's where your true strength lies, not in how much you gave, but in knowing when to stop. Now, they're left with the truth. The kindness they tried to exploit was never theirs to own. It belonged to you. It reflected your wisdom, your grace, and your power to rise. So, chosen one, reflect on this. What does it mean to be kind while holding boundaries? You've learned that kindness doesn't mean tolerating disrespect. It means offering compassion on your terms, not theirs. They wanted to use you, but in the end they taught you something greater. Not everyone is worthy of your kindness. And now, as they watch from the outside, you continue to rise stronger, wiser, and freer than ever before. They thought they could take advantage of you, but what they didn't realize was that your greatest strength has always been knowing exactly when to walk away. Number 7. You let them think they were winning until they weren't. Chosen one, they moved with arrogance. Their confidence grew with every sly remark, every subtle manipulation. They believed they were outsmarting you, convinced they had the upper hand, assuming you couldn't see the full picture. But the truth is, you saw everything. You recognized their schemes, their deception, and their intentions from the very beginning. While they were busy playing small, shallow games, you were observing in silence, patiently waiting, and calculating your every move. Why do so many people confuse silence with ignorance? Because pride convinces them they're untouchable. Proverbs 16:18 reminds us, "Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall." Your adversaries were blinded by their own ego. They mistook your stillness for weakness, unaware that their arrogance was quietly leading them to their own downfall. Every move they made, every trap they laid, was pulling them deeper into the very pit they thought they were building for you. Instead of reacting, you chose patience. You let them carry on, bloated with self-importance, convinced they were winning. But you knew better. You understood the strength of restraint. You understood that arrogance eventually exposes itself. They thought they were setting a trap for you, but in truth, they were ensnaring themselves. Isn't it astonishing how pride blinds people to their own predictability? They believed their tactics were clever, but you had already read them like a book. Your silence wasn't surrender, it was strategy. Just like Psalm 7:15 says, "Whoever digs a hole and scoops it out falls into the pit they have made." And that's exactly what happened. While they celebrated temporary hollow victories, you remained calm and focused. You didn't rush to expose them or defend yourself. You knew that the moment of truth would come, and when it did, it wouldn't need to be loud. It would be swift, clean, and undeniable. Their plans crumbled before them, and they were left scrambling, grasping for excuses, desperate to redirect blame. But there was no one else to blame. The collapse was their own doing. Do you see now how powerful patience can be? Think of Jesus during his trial before the high priest and Pilate. Matthew 26:62-63, John 19:8-11. Accused and mocked, he remained silent. His silence wasn't submission, it was divine control. He understood that every word would serve their agenda, so he chose not to engage. In the same way, your silence wasn't ignorance, it was wisdom. You understood that reacting too soon would feed their narrative, so you let their actions do all the talking. By the time they realized what had unfolded, it was already too late. They underestimated your patience. They misunderstood your silence. They believed they were winning because you allowed them to think so, but you let them walk straight into the consequences they had crafted for you. And now they're left with nothing but regret and reflection, trying to figure out how they missed the warning signs. But the truth? They never had a chance. You were always 10 steps ahead, silently watching as they unraveled themselves. This wasn't just a victory for you. It was a testament to your resilience, wisdom, and unshakable focus. Chosen one, doesn't it feel empowering to know you never had to stoop to their level? You didn't argue. You didn't retaliate, you simply let their arrogance be their downfall. Just as Ecclesiastes 3:1 reminds us, to everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. This was your time to rise. There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. You understood that your moment to act wasn't during the noise of their schemes, but in the stillness that followed their consequences. Your patience, your strategy, and your ability to remain focused above the chaos are what truly set you apart. They thought they were winning, unaware that you were the one controlling the game from the very beginning. Let their downfall serve as a lasting reminder. Silence, patience, and wisdom are some of the most powerful weapons you can carry. And now, as you continue to rise stronger, wiser, and more unshakable than ever before they remain in the shadows of their own arrogance, watching you thrive beyond their reach. Number 8, their gossip couldn't touch you because your name holds too much weight. Chosen one, they truly believed that their gossip could harm you. They assumed their whispers, petty rumors, and relentless attempts to smear your name would plant doubt in the hearts of others. They reveled in the idea that their words could somehow make you stumble or question your own worth. But what they didn't understand was this: your name carries far too much weight to be swayed by meaningless noise. Have you noticed how those who gossip the most are usually the ones doing the least? Their time is spent talking about others because they lack the courage to create something valuable themselves. Proverbs 18:21 reminds us, "The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit." While their words were being used to destroy, you were using yours to build. While they spun their tales, you sowed truth through your actions, your consistency, and your unrelenting drive. You didn't waste energy trying to correct their lies. You were too focused on building something they could never tear down. Your worth was never tied to what they said. It was written in your character, proven by your fruit, and stamped in your results. Isn't it powerful to realize that the truth of who you are will always rise above the volume of their lies? Think again of Nehemiah. In Nehemiah 6-5-9, his enemies sent false letters to smear his name and stop his mission, but Nehemiah didn't get entangled in their lies. He simply prayed, "Now strengthen my hands," and continued building. Like Nehemiah, you didn't let gossip distract you from your divine assignment. Your response wasn't through argument, it was through achievement. Every goal you reached, every obstacle you overcame, added weight to your name. While they spread rumors, you built a reputation based on integrity and results. Their gossip was made of air, yours was grounded in evidence. Psalm 37:6 promises, "He will make your righteous reward shine like the dawn, your vindication like the noonday sun." And that's exactly what happened. Your progress became your proof. Your success silenced their slander. Isn't it ironic? What they meant to diminish you only elevated you higher. The people who truly mattered didn't listen to the lies. They watched your life. They saw the consistency. They saw the humility. They saw the rise. And in the end, you didn't need to explain yourself. Your journey spoke louder than anything they could say. They thought their gossip would define you. Instead, it exposed them. While they wasted time trying to tarnish your name, you invested time strengthening it. And now, as they scramble to be heard, your silence roars. Think about Jesus during his ministry. His reputation was constantly under attack, yet he didn't stop healing, teaching, and transforming lives. His actions spoke louder than the accusations. In the same way, your life is your testimony, and the noise can't touch it. Many tried to slander him, calling him a blasphemer, a drunkard, and worse, Matthew 11:19. But his actions, his miracles, his teachings, and his unwavering mission spoke louder than their accusations. His name held weight not because of what others said, but because of what he did. Like him, your work, your character, and your unshakable focus became the strongest argument against their gossip. Now, chosen one, reflect on this. Isn't it freeing to realize that your truth is not tied to the opinions of others? Their gossip had no power against the reality of your accomplishments. You didn't need to argue or defend yourself. You simply stayed true to your path, and the truth made itself evident through the legacy you've built with your own hands. As you move forward, remember this: words fade, but legacy endures. Gossip can never erase the undeniable truth of who you are or what you've achieved. Let them whisper while you continue to rise unshaken, unbothered, and unstoppable. Your name carries too much weight to be dragged through the mud by the voices of those who never dared to build what you have. And that, chosen one, is why their words will never have the power to define you. Number 9. You flipped the script and made them the supporting cast in your story. They truly believed they were the main characters in your story. They carried themselves like stars, acting as if the entire narrative revolved around them, as if their schemes, manipulations, and decisions would determine how your journey would unfold. They saw themselves as the puppet masters, pulling strings and plotting your downfall like it would be their final act of control. But what they didn't understand was that you were the one holding the pen. You were the author all along. And by the time you finished rewriting the script, they were no longer the protagonists. They had become background characters, reduced to the supporting cast in a story far greater than anything they could imagine. Have you ever wondered why some people work so hard to control the narrative of others? It's because they have no control over their own lives. Their attempt to tear you down was never about your weakness, it was always about their insecurity. Proverbs 21:30 reminds us, "There is no wisdom, no insight, no plan that can succeed against the Lord." While they plotted your defeat, they failed to see that no human scheme could override divine purpose. They worked tirelessly, believing they had the upper hand. Every insult, every manipulation, every staged moment crafted to cast you as the one who would fall. But you were watching. You let them think they were in charge because you understood the value of patience and strategy. You didn't resist their push to control the plot. You let them speak, let them act, and watched as their pride drove the story into irrelevance. Isn't it incredible how those who try to write your downfall often lose control of their own chapter? While they labored to break you, every move they made only brought you closer to your breakthrough. Every obstacle became your stepping stone. Every rumor became fuel. Like Joseph in Genesis 45-4:28, whose brothers sold him into slavery thinking they had removed him from their story, God used that very act to elevate Joseph to power and save many lives. The betrayal didn't destroy him, it positioned him. In the same way, what they meant to harm you became the very tool God used to lift you. The story was never theirs to control, it was always yours. You turned their opposition into the very foundation for your elevation. Their narrative collapsed because they underestimated you. They believed they were crafting your story, yet all the while, you were quietly rewriting the plot. You flipped the script so thoroughly that by the time they realized what had happened, they were no longer part of the central storyline. The focus shifted from their petty attempts at control to your undeniable rise. They faded from prominent antagonists to irrelevant footnotes in the grand narrative of your success. Think of Haman in the book of Esther, Esther 7. He plotted Mordecai's downfall, even building gallows in anticipation of his triumph, believing his schemes would solidify his power. But in a powerful reversal, Haman's own plot led to his destruction, while Mordecai was honored and elevated. In the same way, your adversaries thought they held the upper hand, but their schemes became the very stepping stones to your breakthrough. By the time the dust settled, you had outgrown them entirely. Their influence faded, their plans dissolved, and their names were forgotten. All that remained was the strong foundation you built with your own hands, a legacy they could never tarnish or touch. While they scrambled for validation, you stepped fully into your role as the undeniable lead of your life. Isn't it freeing to know that their attempts to control your narrative only propelled you further? While they wasted energy trying to write your ending, you were building a story so rich in purpose and power that they were left behind entirely. They tried to write you out, but in the end they had no place in your story at all. Reflect on this, chosen one. Your story is yours to write. Their rumors, schemes, and manipulation are powerless against your purpose. Psalm 37-23 reminds us, "The Lord makes firm the steps of the one who delights in him." Your steps were always guided, always secure. No matter how hard they tried to derail you, your path remained intact. Now, as you stand boldly center stage, they are left watching from the shadows. Their role is over, their influence gone, their chapter has closed for good. You reclaimed your narrative and proved, once and for all, that the power to define your story was always in your hands. Let this truth resonate deeply. You are not just the lead. You are the author, the director, and the driving force. Number 10. They tried to outshine you, but you were the light source. Chosen one, they believed they could overshadow you. With every calculated move and desperate attempt to steal attention, they thought they could become the brightest light in the room. They assumed their artificial glow could eclipse your radiance. But what they didn't realize is this: you were never just part of the light, you were its source. Everything they chased, mimicked, and tried to replicate originated from you. Have you ever noticed how those who seek the spotlight so desperately often fail to realize that real brilliance can't be faked? Their efforts to outshine you didn't make them brighter. Instead, it exposed the emptiness behind their attempts. John 1-5 reminds us, "The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." Your light was never dependent on their approval. It was born from purpose, truth, and authenticity. As they tried to cast shadows, your glow only intensified. Every attempt they made to dim your shine became evidence of your resilience. Your light didn't come from applause, it came from within, unshakable, unbothered, undeniable. Let this be your reminder. You are the light. You always have been. Even more clearly, their attempts to overshadow you only revealed how much they depended on your presence. Like the Pharisees who tried to trap Jesus with clever questions, Matthew 22:15-22, their strategies backfired because truth cannot be manipulated. Your light was never about seeking validation or proving yourself, it was always about authenticity. When you enter a room, the atmosphere shifts because you carry something they can't imitate. You didn't need to compete or lower yourself into petty games. You didn't need to outshine anyone. Your glow was natural, and it commanded attention on its own. Their efforts only made the difference more obvious. Compared to your inner radiance, their light was artificial and fleeting. Isn't it empowering to realize that their attempts to overshadow you were never a real threat? While they scrambled to remain relevant, you simply stood tall in your truth. They couldn't dim what they didn't create. Your light wasn't just brighter, it was untouchable, and by the time they realized they were chasing a reflection, it was too late. The spotlight had already shifted, and they were left in the shadow of your brilliance. Number 11. You didn't expose them, you exposed yourself to greater heights. Chosen one, they thought you would stoop to their level. They expected you to engage in petty revenge, to get entangled in drama, to fight fire with fire. In their minds, they waited for a showdown, a back and forth of accusations and exposure. But what they didn't expect was your silence. They didn't see it coming when you chose not to fight them, but to rise above them. You didn't expose their faults. You exposed yourself to something far greater. New opportunities, higher levels, and undeniable favor. Have you ever felt how powerful it is to choose growth over grudges? While they were waiting for you to react, you were already busy building. Romans 12:21 reminds us, "Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good." You took your energy and turned it into focus. You didn't retaliate with chaos, you built a fortress of purpose and peace. Rather than giving in to their negativity, you climbed higher. You didn't need to speak against them because every forward step you took was louder than any argument could be. Isn't it amazing how success silences even the loudest critics? Each milestone you reached not only proved something to them, but also to yourself. You were never meant to stay low with those trying to pull you down. You were designed to soar. Like David, who rose to greatness while Saul's jealousy consumed him, 1 Samuel 18:24, you didn't return their envy or hate, you simply kept rising. Your victory wasn't revenge, it was purpose. As you ascended to greater heights, they were left to watch. They thought they were in control, but your silence, focus, and elevation told a different story. While they were tangled in their own drama, you were building step by step, brick by brick. By the time they noticed, it was too late. They were no longer part of your story. Have you noticed how the ones who try to drag you down always end up left behind? Just like Joseph, who didn't waste time seeking revenge on his brothers, but instead rose to power and ultimately saved them, Genesis 50-20, you chose purpose over pettiness. That decision became your greatest triumph. So now, chosen one, reflect. Isn't the greatest revenge a life lived in undeniable purpose, joy, and growth? You didn't need to expose them. Your rise did that for you. Your achievements and your strength told the entire story, and in the end, they were left watching from the sidelines while you stepped boldly into the greatness they never saw coming. Let their actions fade into the background. The spotlight belongs to you now. Your story isn't about them. It's about you, your resilience, your strength, and your undeniable greatness. As you continue to rise, remember this: the greatest revenge is not pulling others down, it's lifting yourself so high that they can't even reach you. Number 12, you didn't just prove them wrong, you redefined what winning looks like. Chosen one, they truly believed they had life all figured out. They clung to a narrow, conventional blueprint of success, convinced that ticking the right boxes and following the same path everyone else walked would guarantee their victory. They had their timelines, their milestones, and their rules, and they assumed everyone had to play by them. But then you came along, and you weren't playing their game. You weren't bound by their limitations or confined by their outdated ideas of achievement. You didn't follow their script. Instead, you wrote your own. You shattered the mold, proving that true success doesn't come from fitting into someone else's definition, it comes from rewriting the rules altogether. Have you ever wondered why people work so hard to control the narrative of what success should look like? It's because they're afraid to step outside the safety of their own expectations. But Proverbs 3-5-6 reminds us, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. While they leaned on superficial metrics and human praise, you leaned into faith. You trusted in the vision planted within you, even when others didn't understand it. You weren't chasing applause or empty trophies. You were chasing purpose. They measured success by fleeting recognition, titles, and status. But you built something real. You set bold goals that they couldn't even comprehend. And every step forward was not just a rebuttal, it was a redefinition of what winning truly means. Isn't it freeing to walk outside the box they tried to put you in? While they were busy checking off boxes and competing with one another, you were creating something lasting. You weren't climbing their ladder, you were building your own mountain. And by the time they noticed, the view from where you stood made their standards look small and irrelevant. Do you see how powerful it is to redefine the game instead of playing it? You didn't need their applause to validate your journey. Every victory, every milestone was rooted in your faith, your consistency, and your boldness. True success, after all, isn't about meeting their expectations, it's about exceeding your own. Think about Jesus feeding the 5,000 in Matthew 14:13-21. The disciples believed it was impossible, limited by what they could see, just 5 loaves and 2 fish. But Jesus redefined possibility. He demonstrated that when vision and faith align, miracles unfold. In the same way, your journey was never about meeting small expectations. It was about creating something they never thought was possible. And now, as they scramble to keep up, their version of success has grown outdated and irrelevant. Have you noticed how the people who try to define success for others often fail to see the limits of their own vision? You didn't just win. You changed the entire narrative. And now, as you stand on a peak they never imagined existed, they're left watching in disbelief, unable to comprehend how you rose so far beyond what they once thought was the limit. So ask yourself, What does success mean to you? Is it applause from others, or is it the quiet fulfillment of walking in your God-given purpose? Philippians 4:13 reminds us, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, and that's exactly what you did. You drew strength from above and within, rising higher than any of their expectations and becoming a definition of success they never saw coming. They could never reach you. You didn't just win, you evolved. You redefined success, established a new standard, and proved that your power lies in your vision, your resilience, and your unwavering belief in what you're capable of achieving. This journey has never been about simply reaching the top. It's about creating entirely new heights, unlocking unseen possibilities, and building a legacy they could never touch. You didn't just rewrite the rules, you rewrote the future. And that, chosen one, is why they're left in your shadow, struggling to comprehend the magnitude of what you've accomplished. Beloved chosen one, your journey has been nothing short of extraordinary. They underestimated you, they misjudged your strength, they thought they could break you. But with every challenge they hurled your way, you rose higher. You didn't just survive their schemes, you turned them into stepping stones. You demonstrated that true power doesn't come from stooping to their level, playing their games, or reacting to their noise. True power is found in identity, in purpose, and in the quiet, steadfast trust that God's path for you is unshakable. Your life is a testament to resilience, to wisdom, and to unwavering faith. You didn't just win, you changed the definition of victory. Every step you've taken shows that when you align yourself with a higher purpose, no weapon formed against you can prosper. You were never naive, you were strategic. You were never weak, you were simply patient. And in the end, you didn't just show them who had the strength. You reminded yourself of the unstoppable power that's always lived within you. Now, I invite you to pause and reflect on your own journey. What have you turned around in your life? What moments have proven that you are not just surviving, but thriving? How have you used adversity as fuel to step more boldly into your calling? If this message resonates with your soul, it encourages you to keep pressing forward. I humbly invite you to support this platform through a super thanks donation. Your generosity allows us to continue creating content that uplifts, empowers, and inspires God's chosen ones to rise into the fullness of their divine assignment. To everyone who has already contributed, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support means more than words can say. It allows this mission to expand, reaching more hearts and sowing more seeds of encouragement, faith, and strength. You're not just helping this community, you're becoming part of a greater movement, one that changes lives, one that reminds others that they too are chosen. As we bring this message to a close, I want to leave you with a blessing. May you continue to walk boldly in the light of your calling. May God's favor surround you like a shield, His wisdom lead you forward, and His strength uphold you through every challenge ahead. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are chosen, and chosen for a divine reason. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. Isaiah 54:17. Stay strong, chosen one. Keep shining your light, even when the world tries to dim it. Your best chapters are still being written, and they are filled with victory, purpose, and endless possibilities. May God bless you abundantly, guide your every step, and multiply the fruit of your faith. You are seen, you are called, and you are unstoppable. Chosen one, as you continue walking in your divine purpose, remember this: the higher God takes you, the more silent your preparation may feel. But silence is never absence. Quiet seasons are often where your greatest strength is forged. It's where God develops the kind of faith that cannot be shaken, no matter how fierce the storm. You've already come through battles that should have broken you but didn't. You've endured seasons of betrayal, loneliness, and confusion. And yet, you're still here, not just standing, but rising. That's the kind of power the world can't manufacture. and the enemy can't destroy. People may still question how you're able to keep going. They might wonder how you found peace when all odds were stacked against you. But what they'll never fully understand is that your strength doesn't come from applause, recognition, or approval. It comes from God. And when God is your source, you lack nothing. Every prayer you whispered in secret, every tear you cried in silence, and every moment you chose faith over fear, it's all producing fruit that will speak louder than words ever could. Psalm 126:5 says, "Those who sow in tears will reap with songs of joy." You've been sowing with endurance. Now your harvest is on the way. Chosen one, your story is being written not just for your own journey, but for generations to come. Your obedience today will inspire others tomorrow. Your breakthrough will become someone else's blueprint. And your elevation will prove that God exalts those who remain faithful, even in obscurity. You don't have to announce every move. You don't have to prove your worth to anyone. God is already making a way for you behind the scenes. And when the appointed time comes, nothing and no one will be able to stop what He has set in motion. So keep going, keep building, keep showing Upaven on the days when it feels like no one sees you. Because heaven sees you, and heaven never forgets. Your name is written in the palm of God's hand. Isaiah 49:16. You are not hidden, you are being held. You are not forgotten, you are being refined. And every ounce of your journey is working together for a purpose so divine, so intentional, that when it unfolds, the only response will be awe and worship. Have you noticed how the most impactful people are often the ones who were first overlooked? Think of David, the shepherd boy. When the prophet came to anoint a king, David wasn't even invited to the lineup. Yet he was the one God had chosen. Why? Because God doesn't look at what man sees. He sees the heart, and God sees yours. Your heart for truth, your heart for righteousness, your unwavering commitment to stand for what is good, even when it's not popular. Let this remind you, you don't need a spotlight to shine. You were made to be light. You were created to walk in authority, not arrogance, to lead with compassion, not control, and to win battles, not through noise, but through divine strategy and unwavering faith. The crown you wear was forged in fire, and it fits because you didn't take it, you earned it. Now, chosen one, lift your head high, let the past stay behind you, and step fully into what God has placed before you. Every setback was a setup, every rejection was redirection, and every delay was divine protection. Your moment is not coming, it's here. Walk boldly, speak truth, shine bright, and never forget you didn't get here by accident. You were led, molded, strengthened, and anointed for such a time as this. Your next chapter is being written by the hand of God, and it will be glorious. Amen.